Now that your OPNsense machine is working, I want to show you how to log in using the remote web interface. During installation, you log directly into the machine using a keyboard and monitor. However, a router is supposed to run silently in the background. You probably want to move it someplace out of sight, perhaps in a corner, on a bookshelf, or maybe even a closet. And you don't want to have to drag it out to plug in a keyboard and monitor every time you need to make a change. So instead, let me show you how to log in using a device on your local network. First, you need to make sure that all three devices, the ISP gateway, the OPNsense machine, and the test PC, are still connected and powered on. Then switch over to use your test PC. Here I'm using my MacBook. Then open a web browser and navigate to https://192.168.1.1. This is the default IP address for any new OPNsense machine. Now, when you try to access this page, you're going to get a security warning. The exact appearance will vary depending on the browser that you're using. On Brave, it looks like this. This is because OPNsense generates its own SSL certificates, whereas public websites use a trusted third party. In a home lab environment, this isn't really a security risk. However, it does mean that you're going to get this warning every time you try to log in. For now, just go ahead and bypass the warning. In Brave, you need to click here, and then here. Once you've bypassed the warning, you should get the OPNsense login page. So for username, enter root. This is the same account that you used during setup. And for password, enter OPNsense. That is, of course, unless you've changed the root password, and then you'll have to use that one instead. Once you're logged in, you should see the OPNsense dashboard. Your screen might look slightly different than mine, depending on the exact version of OPNsense that you are running. If this is your first login, the General Setup Wizard should automatically launch. And it looks like this. While completing the wizard isn't strictly required, it does offer a quick way to customize common settings. Let me zoom in a bit to make this easier to read. Okay, the wizard is divided into several pages. This first page allows you to customize your DNS settings. DNS stands for Domain Name System, and it's used to translate human-readable names, like Amazon.com, into numerical IP addresses, like 192.168.1.1. These first two fields, hostname and domain, determine the local DNS name of your OPNsense machine. By default, the hostname is OPNsense, and the domain is local domain, making the full name of this computer OPNsense.localdomain. You can see this name displayed at the top of the screen. This shows that I'm logged in as user root at OPNsense.localdomain. So you can actually use this name to access the web interface. Instead of typing in the IP address like before, you can enter https://opensense.localdomain. See, it works. Using a DNS name to access the web interface is actually better than using the IP address. It's easier to remember, and it means you don't need to type in a new URL if your OPNsense machine's internal IP address ever changes. So, to rename your OPNsense machine, you just need to edit these two fields. Think of the hostname as the device's first name, and the domain is its last name. All devices on your local network will use the same domain suffix. For example, a server with a hostname of Plex would be called plex.localdomain. So if you want, go ahead and enter a new hostname for your OPNsense machine. I like to keep it simple and memorable, so I use things like OPNsense, router, or firewall. Just remember that DNS names can only contain letters, numbers, and hyphens. You don't get to use any special characters or spaces. Also, if you wish, you can change your domain. If you own your own public domain name, you can use that here. If not, you just make something up. But make sure that it doesn't conflict with any public internet domains. So if you were to type google.com here, you might be unable to access some or all of Google's public services. Also, you should not use local, localhost, or test as your domain name. These are all reserved words and will cause network issues. Many people use either home or LAN. However, I believe the current best practice is to use internal. So this will change the name of my machine from OPNsense.localdomain to OPNsense.internal. The language option allows you to set your preferred language. By default, OPNsense uses English, but you can change it to something else. The primary DNS and secondary DNS fields allow you to specify which DNS servers to use. Now, most people should just leave these blank. If you do that, OPNsense will use whatever DNS servers that your ISP tells it to. Also remember, these fields only apply to the OPNsense machine itself. If you want your network devices to use something like Google or Cloudflare, you'll configure that elsewhere. This Override DNS checkbox allows your local network devices to use a different DNS server than OPNsense. Now, if you wanted to force your devices to use the same DNS as OPNsense, you could uncheck this. However, most people should leave this alone. The Unbound DNS section is very important to understand. OPNsense includes a powerful built-in DNS server called Unbound. By default, this is what all your local network devices will use. Running your own DNS server offers many advantages. You get faster lookups, improved privacy, and it prevents companies from blocking certain websites. The Enable Resolver option tells OPNsense to run Unbound as a service. I highly suggest leaving this checked. The next two settings are a bit more complicated to explain. They're supposed to make DNS lookups more secure. However, they can also cause issues sometimes. For now, I would keep these both turned off. However, you might want to try turning them on later once you get everything working. After you've made all your selections, click on Next. Okay, this page allows you to set your time options. The time server hostname allows you to specify a NTP server, or Network Time Protocol. Basically, this server is going to be used to synchronize your system clock. For most users, you can just keep the defaults. Time zone allows you to specify the time zone that you're currently in. Picking the right value here is important because OPNsense is going to use it for writing logs and scheduling jobs. An incorrect time zone is going to lead to a lot of confusion in the future. Click Next when you're done making your selections. This page will allow you to make adjustments to your WAN interface. Now, if your internet connection is working, then you should just leave this alone. If you're using a modem instead of a gateway, then this is where you're going to need to change some settings. The specific changes required will depend on your modem and your ISP, so you might need to contact them for assistance. Once you're finished with this page, click on Next. This page allows you to make adjustments to your LAN interface. For now, I recommend leaving this alone. However, if you wanted to, you could change the internal IP range for your local network. Once you're ready to move on, click Next. This last page allows you to change the password for the root user. I recommend doing this now. Pick something secure, but make sure you can remember it. If your password is too easy to guess, then your OPNsense machine and entire network could become compromised. You'll also need to re-enter your new password to confirm it. Then click Next to save. Now the wizard will finish. And you just need to click on Reload for OPNsense to apply your changes. Notice at the top of my screen, the machine name has been updated. It's now called OPNsense.internal. So I would go ahead and log in again to verify that your new DNS name and password are working. Type in https:// and then your new machine name. You should get the same certificate warning. Go ahead and ignore it. After that, you should reach the login page. Log in as root, type in your new password, and if successful, you should be returned to the main OPNsense dashboard. Okay, once you confirm that everything is working, write down your new password and store it someplace safe. You might also want to bookmark this page for future use. If you ever need to rerun the wizard, you can do that by clicking on System and then Wizard here in the left-hand menu. However, you don't actually need to run the wizard to update your settings. All the same options, and many more, can be found by using this left menu. If you want to just update your password, click on Lobby, and then Password. Here you'll need to enter your current password, and then pick a new one, and re-enter it to confirm. It is a good idea to occasionally update your password. You can find some of the other settings under System, Settings, and General. This page allows you to change the host name, the domain, the time zone, and the language. You can also update the DNS servers for OPNsense. As you can see, there are lots and lots of pages, and it's not always obvious where to go. Luckily, if you don't know where something is, you can use the search feature. For example, if you wanted to change your password, simply type in password, and it'll show you where to go. Now you know how to access the web interface and how to complete the initial setup wizard. From now on, whenever you log in, you will be automatically taken to the dashboard. This provides you an overview of your OPNsense box's health, with widgets displaying things like CPU load, memory usage, disk consumption, gateway status, and a list of recent announcements. There's also various charts and graphs for monitoring. The Announcements widget on the dashboard is useful because it's going to alert you to any available upgrades or patches. These include both security fixes as well as extra functionality. It's a good idea to keep OPNsense up to date, so let me show you how to do that. Click on this link here, or navigate to System Firmware Updates. Then it will take you to a screen where it will compare your current packages to the latest available. A pop-up will notify you if there are any updates to download. In this case, it appears there are quite a few. Now, it is important to understand OPNsense does not automatically download and install updates for you like Windows. All updates have to be manually initiated. So you can read through the patch notes to see what's changed. This will help you decide when and if to install them. Smaller updates are generally less risky, so you can do them right away. For bigger updates like this one, you might want to wait for a more appropriate time before trying to install them. Once you dismiss the patch notes, you can view the list of packages. This column shows your current version, this shows the latest version, and this indicates if a package needs upgrading or if it is brand new. The main thing I want you to notice is this message down here that says, "This update requires a reboot." Applying this update will cause all your local devices to temporarily lose their internet connection for a few minutes. This is precisely why OPNsense does not auto-update. You need to pick a time when you can tolerate a temporary service disruption. For example, I do all my upgrades late at night after everyone has gone to sleep. Do not click the update button until you're actually ready. Wait for a time that works best for you, like, say, the weekend. Personally, I've never had any issues when installing an update. However, that does not mean that it cannot happen. Once you're ready, click on the Update button to begin the process. Now, OPNsense won't reboot right away. It needs time to download and install all of the packages first. It starts by fetching all the new versions. Then it's going to extract and install them one at a time. OPNsense typically gets an update once every 2 weeks, so plan to do an upgrade about once a month. You might want to add a reminder to your calendar. If you get too far behind, your OPNsense machine could become compromised due to an unpatched security vulnerability. After all the packages are installed, OPNsense usually performs some additional steps, including migration and cleanup. When upgrading the system kernel, it is imperative that your OPNsense machine does not get shut down nor lose power. Doing so could damage your system and make it unbootable. This is yet another reason why you need to manually initiate updates. Doing an upgrade in the middle of an electrical storm is probably a bad idea. Once the update has finished, it will finally reboot. This is the moment that your internet connection will be disrupted. You'll have to give it a few minutes, but eventually you should see the login screen. Just log in, and then you should be back at the dashboard. If you want to confirm that you're running the latest version, click on this link. And then you should see there are no updates available. All right, that's it. Now you know how to log into your OPNsense machine remotely, and you know how to download updates.